Today we'll take a look at some tour pros who have too much lag and how they get away with it and why it requires an insane amount of practice time. Then we'll analyze a player who had very little lag yet became one of the greatest ball strikers of all time. And this NB on my jacket doesn't mean New Balance, it might mean not balanced. No birdies, never breaking 90. The average lag angle, which is the angle between your left forearm and the club shaft during the downswing, varies significantly between the tour pros and amateur golfers. Studies have shown that the tour pros can carry 2 to 3 much times of lag in their angles compared to the high amateur golfers. But the question is why? Well, tour pros do 4 things that amateur golfers struggle to do. They have better kinematic sequence. When they initiate the downswing with their lower body, this allows the wrist to stay naturally hinged longer. When they generate higher club head speeds, upwards of 110 and above on the PGA Tour, it makes it easy to retain lag without sacrificing control. They also have much stronger wrists, which allows them to hold angles naturally without excessive tension. And the last one is they don't hold their lag artificially, but let it go at the right time, maximizing speed at impact. Now, the average high handicap golfer has 4 issues with their lags. They suffer from early casting and scooping, which means they are not rotating enough through impact. They overuse their arms instead of the body, and they rely too much on their hands and arms at impact. They can't hold their lag properly because of lack of strength and flexibility. And lastly, they try to force lag by artificially holding the angle, which will lead to poor contact, shanks, and the inconsistent ball striking. So today we're going to look at 2 professionals who do have an excess of lag, Vijay Singh and Ben Hogan. Yes, I said Ben Hogan, but we'll also see down at impact why they were required to hit thousands of balls a week to maintain that timing. And then we're going to look at Steve Stricker, who amongst all the statistics across the PGA Tour history, he ranks top 30 for hitting the most fairways and greens. And we're going to look at his lag angle, and you might be surprised he has less lag angle, and this makes it easier to develop consistency. So if you're paying any attention to that intro, there's a bunch of reasons why tour pros are able to hang on to the wrist angles a little bit more efficiently than us, but we're going to take a look at this image right here of Ben Hogan and Vijay Singh. We're going to take a look at the wrist angles that they're able to generate at this point in the golf swing. Ben Hogan's video looked like it was recorded with a potato, so we're just very limited to what we can gather, but I captured some shaft fluttering, and this is about 135, and then we have Vijay at 123. Now, why it works for them? Because A, they're doing very good job of kinematic sequencing. They are rotating from the ground up and inside out. Now, if you can do that, you can now put yourself in a position to carry some angles more effectively, but it doesn't necessarily open the gates for you to start increasing your lag out of the ordinary, because what you are doing is inviting a little bit of release chaos. And there is a reason why Ben Hogan and Vijay Singh were notorious for hitting golf balls from sunup to sundown. Because of this excess lag that they do have, it requires so much more timing, and therefore you need to practice a lot more. So to make it easier to explain, we're going to get the good videos involved, but I did want to bring in Ben Hogan into the conversation because of his excess lag and what it can cause for the average amateur. And no, you are not Ben Hogan, and no, you should not follow his swing unless you are able to have a lifestyle where you can hit about 1,000 balls a day. But let's bring this up in Barney Purple and let's draw that shaft angle line on both these players to see where they are at this point in their swing, and that is when the arm has just gone below parallel to the ground. And then in mellow yellow, we are going to start to look at what angle this is compared to each other. So you can see a big difference, 72 versus 124. Now, why is this important? Because let's say you want to have shaft lean, which you should try to have with an iron. Gumby green, we're going to pre-make some shaft lean. So let's draw first on Vijay Singh, and let's say he wants his shaft lean to be here at impact, and let's say for Steve Stricker, he would like it to be here. Now, what you're going to look for is the amount of wrist motions you need and the amount of time and frames that you have to work with to make this occur. So essentially, we're asking the player to get shaft lean in the same amount of time by moving the club head, watch the left side, to impact versus the club head on the right side to impact in about the same frames, but the width to do it in is much more narrow with Vijay Singh. not only does Steve Stricker have 50 degrees less manipulation at impact to carry, but now you ask yourself, which circle is wider on the way down? Now remember, width also results to speed and also strength. So VJ on the right side, I would equate to a flash speed, where his body's rotating open and at the very end his hands have to flick and release to have overactive wrists. Steve, on the other hand, allows that body turn to square up the club face more effectively by not relying on hands and arms to do this very fast motion that Vijay Singh has to do. So we have width on our side. We also have less timing to be involved if you have less wrist hinge. Now keep in mind, if I have an amateur with 70 degrees wrist hinge at this point, I say they're doing pretty good. But if you look at the current trends now, they want you to look more like VJ, and that is a big issue when you cannot practice as much as somebody like VJ and have the God-gifted timing that it requires to do so. So let's first look at VJ on the right side, and we're going to take a look at his wrist manipulation as he comes down into impact. So right here, he has an immense amount of wrist hinge that he now has to release. Not only that, but his body is stalled out rotating because it needs to stop rotating because the hands now have to catch up and flash through. So we'll see as he gets down at impact. We take a look. Did he get that right shaft lean at impact? Yes, he did. He got the correct shaft lean, but watch his right hand. Watch how it has to come over the left very quickly. And if you watch some of VJ's slow motion swings on his driver, his right hand almost comes off of the golf club because he is flicking so fast that he has to let go of the club essentially to allow that to occur. But let's now go to Steve and see the motion here. We don't have a lot of wrist angle to carry over. In fact, more of the body's involved. As he strikes that golf ball, he gets down into the shaft lean perfectly, and we don't see much release happening with his hands. They're just going through the motion as his body turns. So we're going to watch both of them side by side right before they get to impact and right as they go through impact. Look at the amount of wrist manipulation Vijay Singh has post-impact than we see on Steve Stricker. This is very important for you to understand as the amateur that lag is not the answer. It is about controlling and having a nice balance between your turn and effective lag without overdoing it. Now if we clear up both these lines and take a look at which one is wider, we can see that Steve's is definitely wider. We have a wider follow through versus here this somewhat breaking down on his left elbow, because as you fire that right hand, your left hand has to break a little bit to allow that club to extend in its distance at impact. And as we continue our motions right about here, let's clear up both these lines. Which one has more shoulder tilt? The one on the right, the one on the left has less shoulder tilt because it's more of a body motion. The shoulders don't have to tilt to create some room to allow the hands to release, so there's less stress on the lower body, there's less stress on the hands and arms, there's less stress on your wrists, and a majority of this does stem from the top position. So if you take a look at these angles again, let's get this in Barney purple and let's just take a quick little angle measurement here. Now these angles are going to be on the shorter side just because we can't get the angle from the other side, so that one for now is 58, where this one it's actually going the other way. So he is able to not hinge his wrist at the top of the swing by almost twice. Now for the average golfer, which one do you think is going to be easier to time into the impact position? Let's go to the shaft lean at impact. Look at how much that club head would now have to move all the way around to get to that shaft lean versus look at the one on the left. The one on the left is almost parallel to his impact shaft lean, and he's at the top of the swing. VJ gets down to his parallel with a fraction of a second left to square up those two lines, and again it is not as wide as Steve Stricker on the left. So you want to promote width. Average amateurs need to get width. They don't need this compression. When you compress, you have to flash your hands. That's the only way out of that scenario. And unless you are gifted with incredible hand speed, unless you're that one or two golfers every generation that just happens to be able to do it, then you should be on TV. But if you start looking at the shaft at the top of your swing and making sure you reduce some of your lag, I promise you, your body will thank you. Your consistency will get better because you're squaring that club face up more with the body as opposed to compression and flashing at impact. And that flashing, a lot of things can occur here where here very little things can get out of whack. So Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope this all makes sense to you. If not, let me know. I'll try and explain it a little bit. And don't forget, Sunday, we're trying to find more people. It's free. So send me your video, info@langgolfacademy.com, and I'll diagnose your swing, cause and effect, and help you further. Hope that helps you. I'll see you next time. Fairways and greens.